Greetings and welcome to CS295's Week 3 PHP Basics. In this lesson we are going to do the very basics. How do you take PHP and put it into the actual code? So if you look at this basic starter code, hopefully you've already watched this video and you kind of understand a little bit what's going on. We're going to do this together, but again, this is HTML. Remember all the server videos and stuff we've been talking about? When the code runs, when you ask for this page, the actual server is going to run this code. It's going to do whatever the PHP says, and then it's going to send you a page, right? And we'll show you what this looks like in today's lesson, right? This is really understanding how PHP works. So with this, echo command allows whatever you echo to literally show up on the web page. And you can echo HTML commands. And in this example, we're seeing how you can add style, and then if you add the correct code, that style will affect what you haven't actually, like the code is building the code. So let's jump over again. I remember I said I'm going to use 00 web host. There's many other options. You can literally download LAMP, depending on what your systems are, or using the other options I mentioned before. But with this, we're going to go ahead and go to the basics.php. Now I already have the basic HTML coded out here, so I'm going to now add the code. So if you remember from the video, got a lesson sign, left angle bracket, question mark, PHP, enter. Now I'm going to go ahead and enter twice and then close this. So you don't actually put PHP when you close it, it's just question mark, right angle bracket. Now let's go ahead and just echo the hello world. Hello world. Now it's really important, JavaScript forgives you a little bit, but it's really, really important in PHP that you forget that, do not forget that semicolon. So I'm going to go ahead and save and close this for now. And then we're going to go ahead and whatever system you're doing, you need to view the actual file. So in this case, I click that button and it views it. And it says hello world. Now I'm going to show you this again when we go in here, but when I inspect this and show you the code over here, right, it says hello world. None of the PHP is there. It literally types what we had in this code. Right? Literally just this. No spaces, no nothing. Well, I mean, that space, but again. So let's go ahead and add the stuff we have here. So I'm going to add a color. So that's going to, I need a color ID, color red. Now let's echo. When I use HTML, I like to use the single quotes. We'll see in a second. So let's just add a span tag. And then let's go ahead and close that span tag. And let's say this should be red. And again, let's go ahead and ID. Now, this is why I did the single quotes, because I like using double quotes in my JavaScript or HTML. Both of those, we'll see you can even write JavaScript with this as well. But for this, again, and it's not like you're writing JavaScript. You're writing this, and then it's echoing it, and then it becomes whatever you write. So you write the code in the echo statement, and it becomes whatever it is. So let's give this an ID of color, because that is. Let's go ahead and save this. And provided we don't, we have an error here. Don't put that semicolon. Save it again, and then we refresh this. And then this should be red. Now there was a span, and this was just hello world, so they're both in line. But this should be red. It is red. Let's look at the code, right? Again, this is the code we just typed. Span ID color. This should be red. So again, to kind of summarize, the server, right? I'm on 00 web host, whatever you might be using, that is the server. When you ask for this page, and also you'll notice it ends with PHP. Should have mentioned that at the beginning, but right, whenever you make a file that's going to use PHP, you need to label it .php. Whenever it sees this tag, it's going to run it as PHP, and it can do, and as we'll see throughout this, you can do lots of stuff. We can loop, we can do all kinds of different things. Get information, add information. but it's not really unless you do an echo. Unless you do an echo, it doesn't actually put anything on the web page. So we can do all kinds of things. We'll create some variables in the next lesson. But unless you actually echo it out, it's not doing anything. So that is the basic premise behind this. And you can go in here and you can add I can add a BR tag here and save it. And then when I refresh this, that BR tag is right there. And now on separate lines. That is the basics of PHP. This starts the code, this ends the code, and as we go forward, we can see all kinds of different things as we want to. I could literally, in one little line, give the body an ID, not that I would really ever do that, right? So now it knows this is PHP. I can echo, single quotes, ID equals double quotes, single quote to end it, semicolon, and then ID equals test. So again, I can just one line this real quick, and as we go through, there'll be times where you might even do some PHP at the top, and then based on some if statements or that statements, or again, we'll go through how data is sent in another lesson. But for now, this is just the way that you can go ahead and put all this information in there. And there you go. Now the body has an ID of test. That's really all there is to the basics of PHP, right? Understanding that basic concept of how you get the tag in there, making sure you have a file called PHP, and then it runs there on the server, and as you can clearly see, it just sends you back HTML. There is no PHP over here at all. Right? It just sends you what is echoed. Anything you do with PHP didn't happen. That allows us to do the passwords and secure data stuff that we're working on. So with that, that's all that was. This is really just explaining the basics of getting PHP into thing. As we go forward, we'll talk about variables, arrays, and then next week we'll really get into how do we get data from one page to another and understanding that piece of how a server works. With that, we'll see you next lesson.